Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today we're diving into a book that's been making waves.
Oh, yeah.
A Certain Hunger. Have you heard of this?
I have read some excerpts,
Yeah.
and it is a wild ride.
Yeah, and so
From those.
we're going to get into.
Yeah.
Chelsea G. Summers is the author.
Yes, and the voice that she creates.
Oh yeah.
Our main character, Dorothy Daniels.
Oh,
It's really something else.
so sharp.
Sharp and unsettling.
Yeah. She's this food critic. She appreciates the finer things in life. But like right away, you feel this darkness
Oh, yeah.
kind of lurking underneath.
There's something off about her.
Yes, and it makes you kind of question everything she says.
Right away. Yeah.
Yeah, like right from the beginning, we're in the Nomad Hotel bar with her. She's sipping a Corpse Reviver #2,
Okay.
casually mentioning her love for, high thread counts and Turkish towels.
So all very intentional.
Oh, yeah. Feels very sophisticated, almost aspirational, but something feels off about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you think it is?
Well, I think it's like she's using these very luxurious details as almost like a shield. Like to distance herself from something.
Yeah.
Like this obsession with control and having the best of everything. It hints at this deeper insecurity, I think.
Okay.
Like a fear of the ordinary.
So it's not even just about enjoying nice things.
I don't think so.
It's more about like...
It's about crafting this experience.
Yes.
And keeping chaos at bay.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then there's the way she talks about the food.
Oh my gosh.
It's so evocative and sensual.
Yes.
Like the duck liver toast is unctuous as a Vegas MC.
Okay.
And then a steak and kidney pie is tender as a love song. You can practically taste it.
Yeah, it's so vivid.
But I'm wondering, is she really experiencing these things, or is she kind of creating this persona?
I think that's the question that lingers with you as you're reading this book. Because Summers is really playing with this idea of an unreliable narrator.
Okay.
Everything we know about Dorothy is filtered through her words. And she is incredibly skilled at using language to manipulate and control.
Yeah.
So those descriptions of food, while they are beautiful, they almost feel performative. Like she's trying to convince us, and maybe even herself, of her own refined taste.
And then there are the men.
Oh, yes.
Dorothy is so open about her relationships.
Yeah.
She describes encounters with all these different men.
Right, like she's collecting them.
Yeah. There's Casimir, this young Russian guy, and then countless others from her college years at Penistone.
It's like she's trying to...
It's not about love, though, is it?
No, not at all.
Like, what is it about?
Well, she admits to having a resting bitch face.
Yeah.
And I think that's not even about protecting herself. It's more about power.
Okay.
Like keeping men at a distance.
So she's using them.
I think she is.
Yeah.
She's collecting these experiences and information.
Like ingredients.
Yes, exactly. Like rare ingredients.
Okay.
But she's always searching for something that ultimately remains just out of reach.
And then there's the incident on Fire Island with Casimir.
Yeah.
This is a turning point.
It's a dark turn.
Yes, a glimpse into the darkness that's beneath Dorothy's carefully crafted facade.
The way she describes it, it's chilling.
Yes.
She is meticulous in covering her tracks.
Right, like setting fire to the house.
Framing his death as a privilege.
It's not a crime of passion. This is something else.
It's calculated.
Yeah, and it makes you question her ability to, empathize.
Yes, her capacity for genuine human connection.
Yeah.
It's like she's compartmentalizing her emotions and just viewing this whole thing through this detached, almost anthropological lens.
It's unsettling.
Very much so.
So what drives a woman like Dorothy to these extremes?
And it's a big question.
Is it power?
Maybe.
A desire to transcend the ordinary? Or is there something even darker?
I think we need to dive deeper to find out.
Yeah, we need to get into her past and the events that shaped her worldview to really start to piece together this puzzle.
Exactly.
Well, stay tuned because we're going to do just that when we come back.
Looking forward to it.
Okay, so how does someone become Dorothy Daniels?
That's the question, isn't it?
Yeah, what kind of path leads to a life where,
Right.
a corpse reviver and let's just say a unique culinary experience can exist in the same mental space?
Well, Summers gives us these little glimpses into her past.
Okay.
And they seem like random, unconnected events, but when you step back, you start to see this pattern emerging.
Okay.
It's like she's laying out the ingredients of a recipe.
Interesting.
And we can see how each one adds to the final product.
The final unsettling dish.
Exactly.
Okay, so let's start with her childhood.
Okay.
We learn about her mom's French-inspired cooking, and how she could, like, stretch a roast chicken into a week's worth of meals.
It sounds almost idyllic.
It does, right?
Yeah.
It's like this stark contrast to the darkness that we know is coming.
But even there, I think, you can see the beginnings of Dorothy's obsessions.
Okay, how so?
Well, her mother's resourcefulness,
Okay.
transforming something ordinary into something extraordinary.
Yeah.
Dorothy inherits that, but she twists it
Oh, I see.
to her own purposes.
Oh, it's not just about being resourceful. It's about
It becomes about control.
control, yeah.
Mastering this art of transformation.
Okay, but it takes a dark turn.
A very dark turn.
Then there's this, like, teenage rebellion.
Oh, yeah.
She goes through this period of just, like, indulging in junk food with her friends.
Like she's rejecting her mother.
It seems like it, right?
Yeah.
Trying to find her own, definition of pleasure.
But it's fleeting.
Yeah, and ultimately unsatisfying.
Right.
But it's interesting how she describes junk food.
How so?
Prefab, thoughtless, soulless, and abjectly capitalist.
Wow.
It's like foreshadowing her later critiques. But instead of focusing on the food itself, she's projecting these anxieties,
Right, I see.
her own fears.
Onto these snacks.
Yeah, like the fear of becoming soulless and consumed by capitalism.
It's fascinating
It is.
how she uses food as this mirror.
Okay, so then we get to Penistone College.
Ah, college.
This is where she really starts to hone her skill.
In more ways than one.
Yes, not just academics.
It's not just academics, no.
She sleeps with a significant number of her male classmates.
She does.
But it's not really about the physical act, is it?
I don't think so.
It feels like it's about gathering information.
Finding their weaknesses.
Yeah.
Using that knowledge to protect herself.
So this is where her resting bitch face becomes like a weapon.
Exactly, a way to stay in control.
Yeah.
To never be vulnerable.
She's collecting experiences, but not for pleasure,
No.
but for power.
For power, absolutely.
And remember that crazy scene with Emma?
With the bulldozer.
Yes, the performance artist.
Yeah.
Using a bulldozer to destroy these ceramic vulva sculptures.
Oh, yeah, that was wild.
Even back then, Emma was pushing boundaries,
Yeah.
living life on her own terms.
She was fearless.
Yeah. And she and Dorothy formed this deep bond.
A bond forged in darkness.
But it's interesting, they both recognize the darkness that exists beneath the surface of, like, polite society.
Right. But they deal with it in different ways.
How so?
Emma embraces the darkness through her art, while Dorothy tries to control it.
To, like, bend it to her will.
Exactly.
So she ends up in Boston writing for the Phoenix, covering all sorts of things, but not food.
Not food yet.
Yeah. Cabbage Patch Kids interior design, the Scarsdale diet.
What a range.
I know, right?
From bulldozers to Cabbage Patch Kids.
It seems so far from the culinary world that she eventually conquers.
But those early writing experiences are so important.
Okay, why?
She's honing her craft.
Okay.
Learning to use language as a tool.
As a weapon, even.
Right. And remember what she says about those early articles?
Remind me.
She compares them to humanity's death knell.
Wow.
It's like she's already sensing this emptiness.
This hunger.
Yes, a hunger for something more.
Something that goes beyond the mundane.
Exactly.
And then she meets this guy who's starting a new magazine called Noir.
Noir.
And boom, she's offered the food critic job.
It's like fate.
Yeah, it feels inevitable. Like all these different experiences have been leading up to this moment.
Summers is so good at that.
At what?
Planting these little seeds, these seemingly insignificant details, and then later they take on this whole new meaning.
It's like she's inviting us to play detective.
I like that.
Like to piece together the clues.
And then we get to the biggest clue of all.
The one that changes everything.
The reveal that Dorothy is...
a cannibal.
It's a game changer.
It makes you reevaluate everything.
Everything you thought you knew about her.
Yeah. Suddenly all those descriptions of food take on this sinister edge.
You start to see the parallels.
Between her obsession with control, her need to consume and possess.
And this ultimate act of transgression.
It's not just about shock value, though.
No, I think it's deeper than that.
What do you think Summers is trying to do?
I think she's using cannibalism as a metaphor.
Okay.
A way to explore the darkest parts of human desire.
Yeah, the hunger for power, for transcendence.
That can consume us all.
Yeah, and remember that line about human meat?
Which one?
Human meat makes me think of magic. To eat human is to dine on a chimerical hybrid. It's infinite immortalization. It makes a god out of a woman.
Wow.
Chills.
She's not just indulging a primal urge, she's
Right.
trying to elevate herself.
Become something more than human.
Exactly.
It's so twisted.
It is, but it reveals this deep yearning
For power.
for a way to escape her own mortality.
Okay, so we have this incredibly dark character.
Right.
But then we meet these two seemingly normal people in her life.
Oh, yeah.
Emma, her agoraphobic artist best friend, and then Alex, this surprisingly kind and down-to-earth boyfriend.
They're like these opposing forces.
Pulling at her.
Yeah.
Emma embodies the unconventional, the chaotic.
The embrace of darkness.
And then Alex represents stability and normalcy.
The possibility of a different life.
It's like Dorothy's caught between these two extremes.
Unable to fully commit to either one.
Yeah, and Emma's transformation from performance artist to this successful recluse.
Running her art empire from her apartment.
It really speaks to like the anxieties of our digital age.
Yeah, how technology can connect us, but also isolate us.
And it also highlights the different ways that women navigate power and success.
Right, like Emma has achieved recognition without compromising her principles.
Or,
Her art, yeah, she's created her own space, her own rules.
but Dorothy seeks power through more traditional and ultimately destructive means.
It's a stark contrast.
And then there's Alex.
Alex.
He starts out as a journalist, then becomes an engineer, designing foundations for skyscrapers.
He's so grounded.
I know, he's so different from the men Dorothy usually goes for.
It's like she's drawn to his normalcy as a
Right.
way to counterbalance her own darkness.
He represents this glimmer of hope, the possibility of redemption.
But knowing Dorothy and knowing Chelsea G. Summers, we
Yeah.
can't help but wonder,
Is this genuine?
or is it just another game she's playing?
So then things start to unravel for Dorothy.
The walls are closing in.
Yeah, the police are investigating Casimir's death, led by Detective Keandra Wasserman.
She's a force to be reckoned with.
And Dorothy's carefully constructed world starts to crumble.
It all starts to fall apart.
Wasserman's sharp, she's observant, and she's not fazed by Dorothy's,
Oh, right. She sees right through her.
attempts to manipulate her.
Exactly.
It's like she represents the intrusion of reality.
the consequences that Dorothy's managed to avoid
For so long.
for so long.
And Dorothy becomes paranoid,
Oh, yeah.
convinced that Emma's the one betraying her.
Feeding information to the police.
And it all leads to that scene where Dorothy breaks into Emma's apartment.
With a cleaver.
Yeah, a cleaver in hand.
It's terrifying.
It's a moment of pure desperation.
Pure control is slipping away.
Yeah, and she lashes out at the one person who truly understands her.
Who sees her darkness and accepts it.
But even as we're horrified by Dorothy's actions, you still feel a flicker of empathy for her,
I do.
for that fear and loneliness that drives her,
It's a testament to Summers' writing.
that she can make us feel that way.
Yes.
About such a deeply flawed character.
Exact.
Thankfully, Emma's okay.
Yes, thank goodness.
But Dorothy ends up arrested.
The evidence is piling up.
Yeah, the receipt from the butcher shop, the traces of blood,
It doesn't look good.
not good at all.
And the trial itself is really interesting.
What do you mean?
Well, it becomes this commentary on the justice system.
Oh, okay.
And how female offenders are treated,
So there's this larger societal critique happening as well.
woven into the narrative.
Yeah, Dorothy even points out that, like, society is way more forgiving of men who commit violent acts,
Right.
while women are held to a different standard.
A harsher standard.
It adds this whole other layer to the story.
It makes you think.
But even while she's facing life in prison, Dorothy still maintains this strange sense of detachment.
Almost like an aloofness.
Yeah, and she describes her last meal before being sent to Bedford Hills.
What was it?
A perfectly roasted Long Island duck.
Wow.
It's like this final act of defiance,
Oh, yeah. Or savoring the pleasures of life.
even as she's facing the consequences.
It's so symbolic.
What do you think it means?
I think it represents her enduring love of food,
Okay.
her refusal to be broken by the system.
But it also makes you wonder, is she truly remorseful?
Right. Is she just resigned to her fate?
Content to indulge her appetites even within the confines of prison?
Big questions.
And then we enter this whole other world.
Prison life.
Yeah, it's not exactly the five-star experience Dorothy's accustomed to.
Definitely not.
But even there, she finds a way to adapt.
To find beauty and connection.
She talks about the monotony, the terrible food,
Right.
but also this unexpected culinary creativity that emerges.
Among the inmates.
It's like she's reminding us that even in the darkest places,
Mm-hmm.
the human spirit, the drive to create and connect, can still thrive.
I love that.
But there's also this sense of loneliness.
Oh, yeah.
She mentions that even people who liked her stopped visiting.
They find excuses to stay away.
Yeah, it's like the stigma of her crimes has created this invisible barrier.
Isolating her even further.
And then, in a twist of fate, she has this unexpected encounter with someone from her past.
Who?
Alex, her former editor from Penistone.
Wow.
He literally bumps into her in the prison cafeteria, spills mustard all over her.
That's almost too perfect.
I know, right?
Like fate intervening.
But remember, Alex has no idea who Dorothy really is.
Right, he sees the woman he knew back then.
This bright, ambitious student.
Completely oblivious to the truth.
And they start dating.
Oh, wow.
And for a while, Dorothy seems happy, like genuinely happy.
Really?
Yeah, she talks about feeling a there in her chest, something she'd never felt before.
That's beautiful.
It is right.
It's like this glimmer of hope.
Yeah, the possibility that maybe love can redeem even the darkest souls.
But you know it can't last.
I know it feels like it's too good to be true.
It's Dorothy we're talking about.
And there's this scene where Alex takes her to the Empire State Building.
Oh, no.
He's so excited to show her the view, but Dorothy's overwhelmed.
By what?
By everything, by the weight of her past.
The darkness she carries.
She realizes she can't escape who she is, what she's done.
And she chooses her hunger.
Her need for control.
Over the possibility of a real connection.
And that's how the book ends.
We never find out what happens to her.
It's this haunting conclusion full of unanswered questions.
So what do we make of Dorothy Daniels?
Right, is she a monster, a victim, or something in between?
I think that's the brilliance of this book.
How so?
It doesn't give us easy answers.
It challenges us.
It challenges us to confront the complexities of human nature.
The darkness that we all have inside.
Dorothy is a product of her experiences, her desires, the forces that shaped her.
She's a cautionary tale.
A reminder that even the most refined palates can crave something darker.
Something dangerous.
Absolutely.
Certain hunger. It's a book that stays with you.
It makes you question your own appetites.
Your own desires.
And the lengths you'd go to satisfy them.
It's a powerful and unsettling read.
It's a deep dive into the human psyche.
That will leave you disturbed and strangely exhilarated.
For sure.
So if you're looking for a book that will challenge you, provoke you, and leave you with this lingering sense of unease,
A Certain Hunger is the book for you.
just be prepared to confront some uncomfortable truths about yourself along the way.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
We'll see you next time.